September 2, 3063. Townsend, Banjiro Valley, Galatea, Lyran Alliance. Galatea was barren even after the wet season, when the wind swept rolling thunderheads off the Kalari Ocean. For all its reputation, Galatea was a rock, graced only by its virtuous atmosphere. Nothing grew on these gray-brown slopes, and without careful human stewardship, nothing would. This far out from Galatea City, the green work of human hands shone in the Banjiro Valley like a beacon, an emerald light tucked into a wide dell with gentle inclines. Waves of lime, deep-rooting grasses swayed in the wind all along the upper slopes, sheltering beneath a century line of mottled engineered saxal planted along the entire length of the ridge. Below that, vineyards of climbing beans, and below that still, mixed copses of trees that gave much-needed shade to plots of squashes and gourds. Wheat and barley carpeted the basin, cut through by the sapphire glint of a lazy river crossed by a handful of simple carved stone bridges. Red brick houses and barns lay along the shores, clustered, simple but solid dwellings for a simple but solid folk. A stone church on the left bank, the largest and tallest structure in the whole valley. You haven't been out of your mech for a long time, and the chaos of the recent battles has left you feeling naked and vulnerable without the reassuring chill of your cooling vest pressed against your skin. The pastoral beauty of this place helps, but you've rarely been more than 5 minutes from the safety of dozens of tons of metal, composite, and myomer in months. Like a shadow lurking at the edges of your peripheral vision, you haven't been able to shake the senseless violence of the last few months. You push the crate of beans into the back of the truck, handing it off to a Black Sparrow tech who stacks it with the others. And then, you head back into the swirling hubbub of Townsend Market to gather more. On the other side of the dirt track leading to town are more Black Sparrow trucks. Leo Sharp is there, his tall, pale figure in khakis and a cap, a contrast against the black-clad locals as he directs the unloading. They wear what almost seems like a uniform, black vest and pants, and wide-brimmed black felt hats. The women, too, are nearly identically clad in dark-colored dresses and white caps. You feel like this place is lost in time, a vestige of a bygone era. Still, the soldier in you doesn't neglect the primitive but robust-looking electric dune buggy parked just outside the market. 2 of the Amish are riding on it, one behind the wheel and the other perched on the back seat, a gleaming, ancient-looking slug thrower slung over his shoulder. He catches you looking and tips his hat at you. He doesn't smile. You offer a casual salute back, to be polite, and you head back to where Li Dongmei is seated across a table with a few of the locals. The gray t-shirt and Black Sparrow cap are a far cry from her usual power suit, but seems just as comfortable. Or maybe it's that she's sitting at a negotiating table that makes her feel at home. In her hand, a tablet propped up over her stump, aiming the camera at a sheet of handwritten paper while her counterparts scribe the next page. Dongmei notices you too, and waves you over.
And this is Anna and Jacob Troyer,
she says after introducing you and your company.
They've been appointed by the community to speak to us.
Jacob finishes writing the last pages of the agreement and pushes it to Dongmei with a grunt.
Keep the mechs off of our land, and there won't be any trouble.
What Jacob means?
Anna says, gathering the previous page and adding it to the rest of the contract.
Is that we want no part of whatever conflict is happening on Galatea. We are people of the Lord, and your business is very much of the world. We're willing to trade with your group, but only if you leave Townsend out of it. As near as we can tell, the presence of any armed group anywhere on this world seems to draw the attention of others. So please, if you can keep any military force that you have at least 100 kilometers away from us, we can be friends.
We can do that, Dongmei says, as she finishes scanning the last page.
And you're sure you don't want to talk about provisional support in case one of the other groups comes here? We've noticed some of them are not as friendly as we are.
Anna shakes her head, the few stray wisps of hair that have escaped her bun swaying. But it's Jacob that speaks.
They can try,
he says, stroking his silver-gray mutton chops and twisting the hairs between his fingers.
But maybe they should ask Conrad McKenna what happened in 2335 first. We really rely on each other, as we always have, and the Lord will provide.
Maybe I am just ignorant,
Dongmei says, tilting her head.
but if a lance shows up here, I'm not sure this handful of SRM launchers will do much for you. I appreciate you've chosen to live without much technology, but...
We're careful about technology,
Jacob says.
Not because we can't have any, but because of what it brings into our homes. It doesn't mean we haven't any.
Now, Jacob?
Anna interjects, placing a hand on his forearm.
We needn't say too much, do we?
Jacob grunts and sits back into his seat.
Right,
he says, picking up his pen again.
Where was I? Oh, right. The canned preserves. That was 12 crates crushed tomatoes, yes?
Dongmei shrugs. She'd discussed the possibility of some contingent support for this hidden community for continued food supplies, a low-risk proposition that fell within the range of your existing patrols. But there was nothing she could do if they weren't interested. In fact, it seemed like they wanted your mechs even further away than you'd been coming. Without their interest, there's not much for you to do but get back to moving beans. At least some fresh produce will go a long way towards keeping morale up at the nest, especially with all the injuries you've been taking lately.